Welcome everyone to the February meeting of the Acquisition SIG for the koha-US user group. We are excited to have you all here and share ideas and get to meet some of our, people from other libraries that are doing the same things that we are. And we can learn from each other and figure out best ways to do stuff. So one of the things I would like to do just to help build a little bit of community and connection so that we can feel comfortable talking with each other, I would like to have everybody introduce themselves and tell something about the library. You know, are you a single site? Are you a consortium? What do you do? You know, what's your, what role do you have at your library? Just so that people can start to make connections. So I will start, and then I will just read off people's names in the order they are on my screen. And if you have a camera, if you could pop it up so we can associate a face with a name, that would be great. If I will start. My name is Rhonda Kuiper. I work at the Round Rock Public Library. We are a single site library, and I am manager of collection development and technical services. I'm and that part of that includes being the liaison with Bywater. We are supported by Bywater. And so, yeah, that's me. Chanel, I think.
Hi, I'm Chanel from the Yavapai Library Network. I'm the systems librarian here. We are a 59-member consortium with publics, academics, K-12s, and specials.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. Next on my screen is Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Johnson. I'm Technical Services Manager at Bedford Public Library in Texas. We're a single site library, and we've been on Koha since 2016, supported by Bywater.
Okay. Next is Velez. I guess if I butcher your name, I apologize in advance.
Hi, good morning. That's me.
Okay.
My name is Patty Velez. I work for the Ramapo Catskill Library System in Orange County, New York. We're a consortium of 48 libraries, and I am the ILL Technical Services Specialist, and we are not launching Koha till August 5th. So we are just getting into it. I'm going to be doing acquisitions, so I'm hoping to learn a lot.
Okay. Came to the right place. Yay. Okay, next is Jason.
I'm Jason Raba. I'm the Seek and Find Coordinator at the Southeast Kansas Library System in Iola, Kansas. We have a consortium of 49 public libraries and 1 academic, and we've been running Koha since 2008.
Okay, thanks. Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Becker. I'm from the Jackson County Library Services, and we're in Southern Oregon. We've been on Koha since 2021. I'm the ILS administrator here, and we are a consortium with 15 public library branches and a community college.
Okay, great. Holly?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, I'm Holly McDougall. I'm a acquisitions assistant at Round Rock Public Library. So I work with Rhonda. She probably, I guess you covered our Koha history since 2016 for us.
Yep, yeah. Right. I didn't mention that. So yep, 2016.
Yeah. Yep. So I do the ordering.
Next is George.
I'm George Williams. I'm the Next Search Catalog Coordinator at Northeast Kansas Library System when Koha is working properly. It's not today. We're a Bywater Solutions customer. We've been on Koha since 2008, but we've only been on Community Koha with Bywater Solutions since 2011. And we don't use acquisitions except for the purchase suggestions, but I like to come to these meetings because we have 50 member libraries, and I never know when one of them is going to say, hey, let's use acquisitions, in which case I will have to know more about it than they do.
Okay, thanks, George. Daphne. You're muted.
Sorry. Probably hear me now.
Yep.
I am Daphne Hoolahan from Interleaf Technology, and we support Koha libraries in Ireland, sort of academic, some public, special libraries. And we would have a mixture of single libraries and smaller libraries. Our consortium would only be, you know, half a dozen libraries using acquisitions. And I come to these meetings to hopefully get tips and tricks from you, because you generally upgrade ahead of us. So I'm picking up the tips now for 2311 when you start using that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Daphne. C. Hilliard, I'm guessing it is. You're muted.
There I go. Yeah, Cecil
Cecil.
from Washoe County Library, Reno, Nevada. We've been on Koha for some time.
Long time,
I
yeah.
don't know when we started. And I'm lead cataloger, and I deal with the money end of the acquisition stuff. I don't do any ordering.
Okay, all right. Then Gretchen. Okay. I'll just read this from Gretchen. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, without a microphone and camera. I'm from, oh dear, Ramapo Catskill Library System in New York, too, along with Patty. Okay. I work in the tech services department at the systems headquarters, and we are getting to launch Koha August 5. Okay, glad you're here too, Gretchen. And then Kristi.
Hey, again, I'm not sure if everyone can hear me.
Yep.
Also camera. Okay, great. At least that's going. Sorry about not having a camera. My name is Kristi. I'm in the Cuyahoga County Public Library. We are a 27 branch system, but not a consortium, in Northeast Ohio, with a very, very large popular materials catalog. I am not in the acquisitions department, but I do work with Koha a lot. So these meetings are always really helpful for acquisitions and serials questions.
Okay. All right. Well, my sister uses your library. So I just asked her how she liked Aspen, and she was like, yay, very cool. So yeah.
Oh, glad to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So today, before we got on camera, I asked the few people that were there what topics they wanted to discuss, and Chanel had a really good question that I'll have her ask again, and we can start with her question.
Okay, we won't be going live on Koha until mid-June, and I'm wondering, from the wisdom among the group, if there are acquisitions best practices that you recommend for someone going on to Koha.
Okay, so first question that comes to my mind is, are you going to be doing EDI or not?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So with that information, let's see, we got a couple people that aren't on Koha yet, but we've got some that have been on for quite some time. Best practices, things that if I could do it all over again, I would, kinds of stuff.
Rhonda, I think you'll back me up on this one, but beware updates.
Yeah.
Never
Yes.
goes well for acquisitions.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always something that happens, especially for EDI. It seems to be EDI that gets touched. we went a couple updates without problems, but this last one, we got burned again.
If
So,
you had a test system, is there any way to be proactive about finding those things out?
yes, definitely. As long as I say that, and then like this last time, our passwords to the FTP servers got messed up. I don't know that test server would help you with that unless your test server was hooked up to the vendors as well.
Right.
So that one maybe not, but some of it, yeah.
Might be worth seeing if you can get a test account with the vendor and set up the connection from your test server, so that first of all you can test the connections and then just maybe do a sample order. Because they'll give it to you before you go live, but afterwards you'll never get it again. So take this opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that problem that we had with dates after there was a big problem at 2211, that was just because the way dates were handled changed in Koha. And I think it was where we had some very old orders lying around, or invoices that were older. So hopefully you won't have those problems with, when you're newly using it.
Anybody else have some ideas about best practices? So Chanel, you're going to be ordering and receiving all EDI.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have several libraries that are very heavy EDI users.
Okay. Yeah, getting that stuff all set up before you go live would be a huge advantage, because we didn't. We went live and then we started trying to get that stuff set up, not realizing how we were one of the first ones to use EDI in Koha. So, we had to work a lot of bugs out of it, figure stuff out. Things that we also do, we've got some reports that we run that kind of, Holly runs a report every day to make sure that the invoices that we're getting into Koha match the paper ones that we get sent, or the email's a better word, the email ones, just to verify that helps us catch things quicker. So that, if there's a discrepancy, we're like, wait. And that was kind of running that report and getting nothing was our clue that something was wrong with the FTP server. So we were able to catch that, right away too. So as far as actually ordering, what any tips or tricks on that, placing the orders? I guess the most important thing is to make sure that you've got your item type right in the order, and then to make sure, this is a mistake we made right at the beginning, making sure that the not for loan field says ordered in it, because otherwise, if it's blank, it will say available and confuse all kinds of patrons and staff as well. Because that was something we didn't realize right up front. I'm just trying to think back to what we did right at the beginning. But those two fields are really important when you're placing the order. I would say we could walk through it, but I can't find a Koha system that I have access to that's working right now. So, oh well.
My system is online, but I can't walk you through it because we don't use EDI.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you get your system to work? Ugh, ours is just spin, spin, spin.
The comment that Liz had was it's going to be bouncy this morning.
Bouncy. Okay. Okay. Let's see. See if I can get. I was trying to get the so there is a Koha, pardon me, US test server.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it a lot.
Okay, okay. And then there's the Bywater test server. So those, oh, it's back. Okay. It wasn't up before. Okay, let's see if we can. Setting up budgets. Anybody have any tips for that? I'm trying not to do all the talking.
I think with the budgets, it's just the hard work of setting them all up the first time. But at least then if you keep the same fund names, you can roll them over for next year. And again, it's important that those are tested because your supplier will ask for all your codes. And if they put one in slightly incorrectly and send it back to you, Koha will just ignore the entire order, even if you've only used that fund on, you know, one line on the order. And the same with your library codes and your item type. They've got to be valid ones.
Yes, we can testify to that because we put one through the other day that wasn't valid, and Ingram sent us a nice little email back and said, don't do that again.
Oh, well, at least they sent you an email.
Yeah.
You know, some of the suppliers just send in the order and Koha just ignores it. You know, they're thinking, what's wrong with this?
Oh, yeah. You know, they sent us an email saying, you know, that it was just one item in an order that we had put what was it, a collection code that they didn't recognize. So I have to get that fixed yet on my list of things to do.
Do you not use grid? Sorry, do you not use grid ordering?
Yes. Yeah. And I had the grid set up wrong.
Oh, it was the grid. Okay, got it.
Yep. That's what I did. And one thing that we did, I don't know, you know, we're a municipal library, we're attached to a city where we've got city funds, and then that we spend out of. And so I use the city's codes as the, I'm going to say parent code. And then under that, the child codes, we kind of broke it up more about related to how we like to, you know, related to the collection developers that are spending, or the specific collections and things like that, so that we can see it more granularly how we're spending the money, where the city doesn't care, you know, they just have one big lump of money. And that's been helpful to kind of match, because we have to kind of track what the city's doing and what you know, what the city thinks we've spent and what we think we've spent. We've got to reconcile that too, and it helps track that.
Yeah, we have extra fun because We have a program called Bring on the Books where individuals and organizations donate money to purchase titles for K-12 schools. And every one of those has to be a separate fund.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. That does sound extra fun. Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask if there are any other questions, and then maybe as we're discussing, we can run across some other best practices. I know that there were some emails going back and forth over the month. So in the past month, kind of related to the upgrade. But are there any other questions that you were interested in? Otherwise, I've got this koha-US demonstration server up, and we could poke around in that, or yeah, I was trying to do the Bywater one, but it doesn't like us either. Any other thoughts, questions, something cool that you've learned in the last month that you would like to share? Or is there something that you would like us to discuss in future meetings that we could call in and, a developer, educator from Bywater, somebody like that could help talk us through some stuff? Any of those are fair game. Okay. Then I was really struggling to come up with a topic for this month, as you can tell. So I was hoping somebody would cover me on this one. Okay. Kristi says, let me do this. I'm always interested in how people get their serials patterns set up. So anybody here use serials? That sounds like a no.
Sorry, some people in Ireland would use it, but I'm not sure the way they do things will be the same as yours.
Okay.
So generally, when they are setting up the patterns, they sort of use some of the ones that are delivered, but if they run into difficulty, they come to me and I feel sorry for them. What I've sort of started doing is when I'm naming them, I name them something like, monthly volume number issue or volume issue month. And then you'll have to have another one that'll be the quarterly one or the bi-monthly one, because the changeover of the the volume number will differ. Obviously, on a quarterly it's after 4, on a monthly it's after 12. And I've thought in the past that it would be good to share them, because I think once long ago, but it's very difficult to show how to share them. To have a database somewhere that you could copy.
Yeah.
If you turn on that MANA database in Koha, it'll share with other people or with other systems. numbering patterns. I think what we've kind of run into is a lot of the way that we present the patterns is like spring 2024 or February, January 2024. And a lot of the ones that are in NANA are based on issue number, volume number. And so trying to get the numbering patterns to play nicely when you have something that, say, is a December, January issue that straddles 23 and 2024, and setting up that prediction pattern is somewhat of a challenge.
And would they be bi-monthly, or would they be monthly and just some months it's joined?
It could really be anything, because so many of the serialists are changing their publication patterns. So we had one that was maybe 12 issues a year, is now 9 issues a year. And it's just, all right, now we're combining July and August, January and February, and one more issue. So
in that
it's,
instance, leave it as a monthly.
Yep.
And then in the months where they're amalgamated, just change the name on the one as you receive it and delete the next one as not expected. Because if you change it to 9, it tries to divide the number of days in the year by 9, and the prediction of the expected date goes haywire. So always, even if I had something that was 11 every year, I would set it up as a monthly. And as I said, then just take one out that you don't expect it. It's not ideal.
So you're saying when you receive it, then you just delete or rename the one that to match what you actually got.
Exactly.
And then delete it. Okay.
Yeah.
And George is adding a couple of video links to the chat on how to configure Mana, if you are unfamiliar with that.
Yeah, these videos are older, but I think that the data is still useful. I guess, you can also use Mana to retrieve saved reports, SQL reports. I've never used it for the serials because we're not using the serials module either. But my complaint about the reports library is that it's not very well curated. So that would be the one thing that I would say is you can, if you configure Mana, you can tell it to go through the serials module. You can tell it to go find a pattern, the serials publication pattern for that serial, and it's based on, I think, the ISSN, and then it retrieves the data that other people have submitted. But that's what I don't like about reports, is that you search for a report and you get a whole bunch of results back. And so I don't know what the serials database is like, because I know that people put data in there, but I don't think anybody's really taking care of that data or getting rid of the ones that are broken or not working or not accurate. So that's the one thing I would say about that.
There are a lot in there for serials, but again, the patterns tend to skew towards volume number and issue number instead of like word, like spring 2024 or January, which has. So I have another question. If you're not using the serials module, how are you handling the magazines that are coming in?
I have 50 libraries that range in size from medium, like our biggest library is about in a town of a population of about 40,000 people, and the library there has about 80,000 items, and then our smallest libraries are like the director does everything and it's a part-time job, and their budgets are like in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. And so everybody is handling how they add magazines to their collection differently. Some of them, most of them don't even catalog their magazines. They just have magazines on the shelf and people can come in and look at them. Some of them let people borrow magazines, some of them don't. It's really, and then some of them catalog every single issue. I've encouraged a couple of libraries. The last time I had a library that was on the hook and kind of interested in using the serials module, then the director quit and the new director didn't care. So some of my libraries have like 0 subscriptions and some of them have like maybe a dozen or so. So I've never found a library that was interested enough in the serials module to start using it.
Thanks.
Yeah. We tried it once and we went back to our spreadsheets. It just worked better for our folks. They figuring out all the patterns and all that kind of stuff. We just, I don't know, Holly can maybe talk more to it, but yeah, we tried it. We set things up and it just was more complicated than the few serials that we get.
Yeah, it didn't benefit our library in any way. I could see how it would be beneficial in a university setting maybe, but not for us. And there were so many, I mean, so many magazines didn't even have a rhyme or pattern anymore. And it was too hard to keep up with. And it just wasn't a good system for us.
Now, I did work at a library before I came to Kansas. I worked at a library in Idaho where it was one central library and 6 smaller branches. And we used the serials module there and the catalogers, you know, were really happy with it. So it's not that you can't use it or, you know, it's just one of the reasons that it worked there is because there was one dedicated person that, you know, 75% of their job was just handling serials, because there we had, I think, 160 subscriptions spread across 7 locations. So
Yeah, there's a big effort involved setting them up at the beginning, but then, well, I think it's really worth it because then it sort of runs easily, and particularly for, you know, it enables you to claim for them very quickly. So that's
right.
Delivery is a big problem, certainly in Ireland. And then, you know, if it doesn't arrive, you don't claim within 3 months, they say, oh, sorry, you've missed your chance, but they still take your money. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who asked the question. Was it Kristi?
Yeah.
But you know, there is an option on the formatting. It's called name of season.
Yeah. Like spring start or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any ideas about topics that we should discuss? You know, we've done things like ordering, end of year processing, talked about ways to update the you know, being and we have a bug out there, an enhancement in Koha to make the transferring of funds much smoother and less error prone, I guess would be the biggest thing. So that's out there. We're just kind of waiting for somebody to grab a hold of that. But I know that we're all kind of chugging along. But if there's anything that you think, man, maybe this could be better, maybe this could be simpler, we can always discuss, you know, the acquisitions module is, Daphne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of the newer modules in Koha. And especially in the US, the EDI part of it is fairly, less than 10 years old. And so, it's not like it's cast in stone, and we as a group would have more clout coming up with ideas, because the developers would know that it's coming from a group that has consortiums and standalones and specials and academics and all this kind of stuff in it. So they like to add things to Koha that will benefit everybody. And yeah, if we can come up with some of those ideas, that would be fantastic.
I would like a way to add funds easier during the year, like gift funds. Somebody adds $10 and somebody adds $1,500, and then there's a $25,000 friends donation, and trying to keep the total budget all matching is because you have to work backwards.
Yes, yes.
You can't just add to your gift fund and then have it automatically add all the way up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to first make sure that your top fund has that, let's use $10, $10 more in, so that you can add it to the whatever, well, you have to, your total budget has to have that extra $10, and then your funds have to, then you can add the funds. I know what you mean by working backwards. But yeah, that's a good.
You have to write down that number and make sure it's correct, and all your adding and subtracting, and then hope that it's right.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Because that was part of the bug that's out there.
Oh, good.
To be able to like transfer between budgets and to add or remove stuff through an interface, through a user interface, rather than having to go to the nonfiction and subtract something and then remember that number and then go over to the fiction and add it, that same number to that budget, and then make sure that that's all working. So yeah, it would be, I'm just trying to work through this in my head. Yeah, so if you added, what did you say, $2,500 to a fund, it'd be nice if Koha prompted you and said, oh, this is more than your total budget. This will, I don't know how they, the English words or whatever. This would be more than your total budget. Do you want to increase it by however much?
Yeah.
And then you can just say yes, and then off it goes. But that would be cool, because then if you didn't, if you were like, oh no, I don't want to do that, I must have entered something wrong or whatever, you can say no, but have the system do that for you would be much better.
Yeah, and we have child funds, and then we have child funds and child funds, so we have to keep adding up.
Oh, okay, so you've got to go up, back.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. That might be worth just throwing out into Bugzilla and seeing if anybody grabs it. Let me just make a note of that one a minute. Think how to phrase this so I know what I mean 10 minutes from now. Update total. Okay, hopefully that'll make sense to me in a half hour. Okay. Wow, that was one stinky Sharpie that I just used. Whew. Okay. Then does anybody have any ideas for future meetings? I'm really beating this drum right now because I want to make this a good use of people's time. So
This group doesn't, I mean, it's just called acquisitions, right?
yes,
There isn't a separate serials group, is there?
not that I'm aware of.
Would it be worthwhile to try and find somebody to make this a serials and acquisitions group?
We could do that because serials is pretty closely tied to acquisitions.
Yeah,
Um,
just a thought. And it's, I mean, like I contribute a lot to these meetings. I don't use either of these modules barely, so I just kind of come and hang out for the information part.
yeah. Well, yeah, we want to provide good information, especially for people that are coming on to Koha, you know. I just want to make it clear or whatever that, you know, if you're Bywater supported, of course you can talk to Bywater, but the acquisitions group is also another resource that you have. And any one of us, you know, I field questions from people all month long about, you know, what they're experiencing on acquisitions and you know, what we're doing. So feel free to talk, you know, to contact any of us. And the acquisitions, what is it? Google group or whatever it is, you know, I can't even think what the whatever the email came to you in, that is a great way to send out a question, you know, in the heat of the moment when you're in the trenches, and having trouble figuring out what to do next. We can do our best to figure that out. Yeah, one of the questions in the last month was with 20, what are we on now? 2305, is that right? Yeah, 2305. Do all the math in my head. You can now receive multiple items. If you're non-EDI, you can receive multiple items, and just clarifying how that works. You know, sometimes when you first use a new function, you're kind of like, I don't understand. So, you know, just asking how, you know, how do you use this? What's useful on this? You know, how do I receive these multiple items? I can't figure it out. Never a dumb question. Never a dumb question. Any question is good because probably other people are having the same questions. I don't, let's see. I am working with, oh shoot, I forgot the company's name now, but the one in Australia, Catalyst, on a development for end of year processing to make that a little bit easier. And you know, I had the pleasure of fracturing my leg at the koha-US conference. It was great, but it sort of set me back on extra stuff that I was doing. So I am back in full form again. So I'll get back on to that discussion, and we'll see what we can do, because end of year processing is always a little dicey, trying to figure out how much money you actually have versus, compared to stuff that's on order and going to come in next year versus everything that's just going to come in this year. How do you mark that, identify that so that you can have, because we here in Texas are a use it or lose it kind of situation where we have to spend everything, we have our budget for the year, we have to spend it all, or we don't, it just goes away. We don't get to roll that money over into next year. So we really like to know how much, spend it down as far as we can. And it's always sad when we leave, $1,000 laying out there because we didn't have that, stuff didn't come in when we thought it would, or whatever. So, okay. I am going, unless anybody's come up with a question in the last few minutes, I'm going to say that we've reached our college class 50-minute limit here. And, we will meet again next month. If you have ideas over the next month about things that you would like to talk, just email me or email the whole group. It's rkiper@roundrocktexas.gov is my email. And I will see who I can get, if it's somebody that we want, an educator, or if it's something I know something about, I can do a little presentation. Yes, we have reached the inevitable conclusion of this meeting. There we go. As George says. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your February, and hopefully, I don't know, February is always that crazy weather month, so I hope nobody gets into real crazy weather. We're going to hit 80 degrees later this week, so there you go. But everybody have a great rest of the February, and we'll see you in March. So,
Hey, Rhonda and Jason, you got a second?
sure.
I have a question I think you two can help me with.
Okay. I am going to